whether you think an arts degree is really just for those students who want to become a professional artist or who would like to work in creative industries.
Yes. Well, what I would say to that is absolutely not. I think there are so many transferable skills within an arts education, things that can be applied in the real world.
Transferable skills that you mentioned that they will gain and that can be applied to other areas.
So where you go
after
yeah,
that.
well, it's and that's why we're so happy we're able to support in a variety of ways, because things also come up. An opportunity might arise that you hadn't considered in another country. It's great to hear that that's booming. That's amazing. I think globally there's a definite desire for that creative outlet and some happiness and color and everything. So that's good to know that it's global phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Education Keeping It Real, the podcast from Youth United Council of India. I'm Lotty Hill, your Director of International Partnerships, and today I am at the beautiful Falmouth University campus, which is located in Cornwall on the very southwest tip of the United Kingdom. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined by Alex Mesterton-Gibbons,
Thank you for having me.
Is Falmouth's Head of Employability, so has the great responsibility of ensuring that all the students at Falmouth come out of here and have a wonderful career to look forward to. So we are going to be talking about a little bit about Falmouth's courses, which are primarily arts-based, and the kinds of careers that can lead to, and just really get some great advice from Alex for anyone that's interested in pursuing a career in the arts, or who's interested in studying an arts degree but perhaps wants to eventually work in something else, because I think that applies equally as much. Okay, so let's start. My first question is whether you think an arts degree is really just for those students who want to become a professional artist or who would like to work in creative industries.
Yes. Well, what I would say to that is absolutely not. I think there are so many transferable skills within an arts education, things that can be applied in the real world, such as adaptability and innovation and creativity, things that are hugely sought after in whatever career you pursue. And it's funny because you take for granted every day, you sit on a chair, you walk down a street, you answer an email, but a creative person, did the urban planning for that street. They designed that chair. They help compute the software that you're using to send that email. We take those for granted, but those were all coming from creative people. So as a personal test this as well, I studied fashion design in my university journey. Obviously, I'm not doing fashion design now, but I use skills from that full educational journey every day in my current work. So absolutely, the value of having a creative education is so important, and it can be transferred to any career that you take throughout your life.
Okay, that's great. So Falmouth, as I mentioned, is primarily an arts-based university, and you have such a wide range of degrees. I mean, from fine art, animation, creative advertising, to fashion, film, and games development. That's just to name a very small few. But thinking about how the students learn on these degrees and the types of assessments that they will undertake, what are some of the transferable skills that you mentioned that they will gain and that can be applied to other areas?
Yeah, well, it's also it really varies amongst all of our courses. We cover a range of subjects at Falmouth, and for that assessment, it could take many forms. It could be they participate in a live brief, so they get that real client experience throughout their course, or it could be a group project, because collaborative work in so many aspects of so many industries, to have that practice at working in a team environment and having your responsibility and be able to work with others is super important. Some assessments are project hand-ins, and even that practice of learning to meet a deadline and hand in by a certain criteria in a certain time, those you can transfer right away to any workplace. You'll have deadlines, your manager is going to set out certain project requirements, or your client will. So you're mimicking all of those in your work at university. So within Falmouth, depending on the discipline, there'll be a range of ways that students will be assessed based on the type of materials or disciplines that they're studying for that subject.
Yeah. Oh, great. So, as head of employability here at
Mhm.
Falmouth, you must liaise closely with business and industry and have a quite a clear understanding of what employers are looking for when they're hiring new recruits. So, what would you say that employers most like and tell you that they enjoy about having an arts graduate in particular?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I say this all the time, but creative people are the world's problem solvers.
Yeah.
They're the most brilliant at taking the ambiguity and the uncertainty of something and being able to uh, craft something with nothing, starting with nothing.
Mm,
And I think that is so important. It's something that employers often come to us for roles that require that strong problem solving
mm,
creativity, innovation. Because at the end of the day, that creativity, that thoughtfulness that you can bring to an idea to reshape it, to increase productivity, or so many other ways, it's so important. And to have strength in that, you can bring so much to a team. But I also want to highlight the entrepreneurial side.
yeah.
Creatives are very entrepreneurial. We're self-motivated. And it's something I see as well. Employers basically asking for people who are self-starters, who can take an idea and run with it. Their expectations are to give you that responsibility and for you to craft it. And obviously, with support of others, jobs are very collaborative spaces. But yes, I would say it's that problem solving, that creativity, and that entrepreneurial outlook that just comes naturally with the type of subjects that our graduates will have studied.
Yeah. And I'd say that's probably even more important as the world changes and things move on. The world is less looking for people with just simply technical skills, aren't they? And much more about how are we going to reshape things and reform ideas and
Absolutely. The world of work is changing so quickly, and there's new roles and new industries and
yeah,
new technology coming at us at a speed of lightning. So we're trying to help our graduates be ready for anything, not a
yeah,
certain occupation, but to apply certain principles and
yeah,
transferable capability, so that no matter what the industry is by the time they graduate, because in
yeah,
3 years it could be a whole nother industry, that they're confident to face that,
yeah.
to take that forward. So it's preparing a well-rounded person, as opposed to preparing for one niche career path, or a discipline on its own. Because I think that world of working where you have one career for life is just not the case anymore.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I think, the real message here is whatever it is you might aspire to do,
Mm.
if you have an interest in arts, doing an arts degree can really propel you along the way to most careers, I would say.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's an amazing foundation for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. So thinking about the students who would actually like to go on and work in the industry, the arts industry in some way. I wanted to ask about the way the industry is going because obviously AI is taking over some aspects of some industries, and it's just massively growing all the time, and people are potentially worried about what areas it's going to dominate, and will the human aspect be as important? So I'd love to ask you about what you think the future holds for the arts industry and people who aspire to work in it.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I do have to reassure students on a daily basis. AI in its entirety is a tool. It's not dissimilar to um, spell check or any of the other efficiency tools or helpful tools that have come about. It's much larger. It can do many more things. But we in employability try and teach our students and our graduates to work with AI, because AI is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it can make things so much more accessible for so many people, and it can improve that efficiency, but it's not there to overtake the human element and the creativity and everything that you can bring to it. They've already said creativity and analytical thinking are the two things it will not be able to do. And that's why having that creative education is so important, because it can contribute to the other aspects that AI can't. Obviously, AI also needs to be regulated, and that's something we're
Mm.
not seeing. We're seeing some countries and not others, and I think that's super important. There needs to be rules and guidelines, and everyone needs to have an understanding of when it's going to be used. That you mentioned that you've used it when you have. So this needs to come from governments. It needs to come from organizations, institutions to help their employees or their students or anything else to understand what's appropriate and what isn't. But what we're seeing more and more is employers are relying on this younger generation, or they assume the next generation are going to be more savvy with AI. So we're seeing an increase in it listed being as a requirement on job descriptions. And they are assuming that the students are going to be the most knowledgeable and that they'll bring a fresh outlook into organization. So it's really important, no matter what subject you're studying, to be familiar with it, because that might be an element of a requirement for you to get an opportunity. But no, at the end of the day, it is a tool and it should only be considered and used as such.
Okay. So we shouldn't worry unduly about, swathes of jobs being taken away from us.
It's definitely going to change the job landscape. But there's also going to be a whole host of new jobs in order to manage the AI. And there's going to be other opportunities. We've seen this, many times before when, people used to have newspapers 3 times a day. And obviously when newspapers, some still exist, but it's not as popular now. They've switched to online blogs and to video chats and news and things like that. And the industry, it transitioned. It successfully transitioned. It takes time. So it will have an impact. But I think it's just important to always advocate for the right usage of it, and to learn how to use it responsibly and ethically. But I think it's important to be aware of it, to be AI aware, as something that we encourage. And it's just something that, yes, you want to make sure your art is protected. But I also see it as an opportunity in many ways for new roles, new industries, for those in the creative sector as well.
And I think some of the things that I've heard about AI, obviously it draws on things that have happened before, and ideas, it generates ideas, but it's not going to replace human creativity, is it? I think that that source creativity is still going to be essential going forward, isn't it?
Yes. No, because AI only draws on what it's been fed with or educated on. So the human creativity level that it can bring to it is going to be always much richer and stronger. AI will only be able to regurgitate what it's been fed. So no, that element will not go away.
That's really good to know, isn't it? I wanted to talk about work placements and internships, which a lot of universities are offering for a wide variety of different subjects. Presumably you do offer these for students who are studying degrees at Falmouth, is that right?
Yeah.
And so presumably you would encourage students to undertake them as much as possible. And what kind of skills would you say that students should be looking to gain from an experience like this?
Yeah, well, I want to highlight, so we do have our placement year program for undergraduate courses. Students can do a year out in industry within their course. We also have our micro internship scheme, which helps students gain 30 hours of project work with a local employer. So we have lots of structured programs that students can take to gain these work-ready skills. However, I also want to stress that any experience can bring you skills, whether it's packaged up into a placement or internship. A lot of our students will have a part-time job, or they'll do some sort of charitable work, or they'll be part of a student club or society. And I often have conversations with students who don't realize the skills that they're picking up in doing these other extracurricular activities. And they can be equally valuable. So absolutely, you should take any chance to do a placement or internship, because those are potentially going to mimic real world experiences that you're going to encounter when you're applying for graduate roles. And you're going to be building resilience. You're going to be building that adaptability to join different environments, work with other people, teamwork, that collaboration space. So many things that you can immediately see the value of when you go into the world of work. But I always tell students, like, no matter what you do, you are gaining experiences. So don't underestimate all the other little things you do alongside your studies and in your work, because they're all meaningful. They will all contribute towards being a better and more competitive graduate at the other end.
I guess if an employer has 2 candidates and one has a real world experience and the other one doesn't, there's always going to be an advantage, isn't there, for the one who's actually been in that environment and can demonstrate, skills that they've gained and experiences that they've had.
I think it's hugely important for that employer to have a bit of validation that, you know, you have worked for someone else,
Mm.
and someone else chose to hire you. It, especially in the creative industries, if that's where graduate ends up going, it's also a lot around the portfolio and actually
Mm.
showcasing proof of your skill set, even if perhaps you don't have that work because you weren't able
Yeah.
to participate. I'd say for certain roles, there's, you know, what they're looking for differs slightly, but it's always better to have that real world experience for yourself too, because it might
Mm.
help you decide you want to work for a large organization or a small organization, or
Yeah.
you might want to work for yourself. And without testing those or without trying it, you won't know. So it's always good to do it as soon as possible, just so that you have an idea and a goal in mind for what you need to pursue
Yeah.
next.
You mentioned micro internships.
Yes.
What does that look like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a micro internship is 30 hours,
Mm.
and it can be done over 2 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make them flexible so students can do them around their studies, because that's the most important thing while they're a student. And there were different local employers in Cornwall, and the students have done an amazing range of
Mm.
projects, some more artistic, some more based in research. And yeah, it's a great opportunity for a student basically to get that first
Mm.
really good aspect of learning and supervision from another organization. It's a great thing for the CV. And 50% of our students who participate on the program, the employers actually kept them on.
Oh, wow.
So it could also lead to other things.
Yeah. That's a great opportunity as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So internships, and work placements that you offer and facilitate are
Mhm.
during the degree. What's the best time you would say for a student to approach a careers office and start thinking about the future careers and how to kind of start building skills for that and start just generally thinking about the process and what they need to do next? How early in their student journey should they be coming over?
Yes, so we're really lucky at Falmouth. We get to be part of the recruitment journey for
Mm.
many students. So we're present at events and online sessions, and we really encourage proactive engagement. So actually, the best time to start with the employability team is before arrival, and
Yeah.
that is simply because so many students we see now, they want a part-time job, and it's very competitive. If in the first few weeks everyone descending on Falmouth needs a part-time job,
Yeah.
so if that's something that you have intent to do, it's good to do your research ahead of time. So when you actually land in, you're in the town and maybe you're approaching restaurants or cafes or things like that, you can be part of that first group who goes in
Mm.
and offers your CV or applies to applications. So we actually send helpful tips and information ahead of students' arrival in summer so that they can be as competitive as possible, because there's also other students who have already been here for a few years, and so they'll probably come back, they'll have accommodation a little earlier. So we basically would say before day one is when we'd like to start working with the students, but definitely day one.
Okay.
We believe that employability should be embedded throughout the entire course. There's things you can do in each year level for undergraduate or likewise for postgraduate. Um, as soon as you arrive, there's things you
Yeah.
can support on. So it's never too soon to start thinking about it, start planning it. And it's less overwhelming too. If you spread it out and you do it in little bits, it's not as overwhelming when you graduate and suddenly you're, you know, trying to make all these big decisions. So we're there for everyone along the way.
Okay. So yeah, important message. Don't leave it too late in your student journey to start thinking about what you're going to do next. That's great. Day one or before.
Yes, before.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to touch on entrepreneurship because many of our Indian students who might be watching this will be thinking that it would be a great next move to start their own business. They might have ideas already about that. What advice would you give to students who are thinking about that kind of work as opposed to applying to work for another company, for example?
Yes. So this is a subject that we cover a lot at Falmouth, just because 25% of our graduates every year go into self-employment. So
Mm.
it's something that not only for the region that we're in or the subjects that we're offering, it's of a large interest to the people that come and study with us. So first of all, it's really good, and I go back to this is why it's important to do work
Yeah.
experience. to know if you're able to work for yourself or you want to work for yourself, it's also important to also work for others, because when you work for someone else, you can see how they're running their business, or some more of the logistical or operational aspects of running a business. So although I think it's great when students want to work for themselves, I also always encourage, well, also see if you can learn from another business before you set off on your own. But the other thing too is just to jot down all of your ideas, but also test your ideas, maybe friends, family, but try to figure out why your idea is unique. And it could be unique because of the region it's in, or it could be unique because of the target audience that you want to attract. But you also want to make sure your idea, before you go running with it, is robust, and is unique in the way that you've positioned it, in the way that you've built a story around it, so that you can take it forward, and then you'll get people to fund you and back you. So it's really important to research heavily and make sure that you aren't coming up with an idea that someone next door has also come up with. So research is key. But I'd also say always start small. I know some students will say, well, I'm not ready yet. My idea isn't ready. This is my plan for my full launch. But actually, you want to start small. You want to, maybe it's just a survey among people to see if this is a product you'd even want, or service, or perhaps it's just a conversation with another small business or startup that you really respect. Those small things will help inform how your business develops, and what your company is going to be. So I would not put it off until you think you're ready. I would just kind of go for it, and participate in any sort of workshops or any other things that are happening in your course that allows you to test out some of those entrepreneurial skill sets. But absolutely, I think working for yourself is so rewarding, and it does come naturally to a lot of creative thinkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you've talked about helping students to get prepared for working for a company or a business. We've talked about entrepreneurship. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Falmouth's approach in particular to optimizing a student's employability?
Yes. So at Falmouth, we have an employability framework, and it's built around 9 key capabilities that are prominent within the industry, and are in demand. And we have a range of skill sets that fall within under these 9 capabilities. So they range everything from being work ready, to being a progressive leader, to being innovative, just to name a few, and all the skills that fall within those that are sought after by employers and peers. And what we do is we map that. So we map that to all the activities that we offer for students. So when they're participating in an employability activity, they're aware of what skill, by participating in it, they're gaining or learning. And then they can see how that fits back into the greater framework. And there are things that are mapped around me, us, and the world. So the idea is that there's some skills and capabilities that you need to be really strong within yourself, others within your peers and your coworkers. So that's the us. But then there's also that responsibility. One of the capabilities is global citizen. You also, the decisions you make might impact the greater world, the greater community, those around you, your country. So it's a full picture, but it really helps us create different curriculum initiatives, as well as extracurricular initiatives for students. But it supports in the way that the student is aware of the skills they're gaining, as opposed to, as I mentioned before, doing something and not really being like how valuable that opportunity was. So it's just a way of extracting and helping students understand just everything they have in their toolkit before they go out.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's really embedded into the curriculum and everything that the student is learning as they go through. And do you find that there are additional challenges for international students in terms of whether they want to stay in this country to work afterwards? How's that at the moment?
Yes. So for international students, we have several initiatives, because we realize they have some additional barriers. Quite often they'll need a certain type of sponsorship to pursue a certain company or just an occupation. So we are partners with Student Circus, who offer different advisory resources for international students to navigate working in the UK. They also offer a jobs board where all the jobs on the jobs board are sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
So when they apply, they know that it isn't going to be filtered because they don't have the right working rights. So we do a lot of things in addition to help international students navigate the UK job market. But something we're also really proud of is we can also support students back in their home countries or in other countries.
Oh,
So, for example, we do CV reviews for lots of different countries in Europe, North America, and Asia. So if for some reason their plans here don't pan out, we feel like they can still come to us for career support, employability support, even if it is in another location. And we have a jobs board that's international as well. So as part from the Student Service Fund, which are UK sponsored jobs, we also have an international jobs board. So they could find opportunities in Canada or China, so we feel like our service is relevant to everyone, no matter what their goal or their path is, because hopefully, depending on, if they're going for one thing, but it's also good to sort of have a backup plan and something else that you're applying to at the same time. So a few things like that, but it is tough because it's a very, very competitive job market to stay in the UK and pursue different jobs. And they have just changed the regulations yet again, and they've increased the skilled worker visa salary threshold. So it makes it quite hard for most occupations, but especially those more in the creative sector, to have graduate starting salaries meet what they consider as the threshold to work in the UK. So that's something that the creative industry and the sector is advocating for, but it does present an additional challenge for our international students.
Yeah. But as you've said, there's plenty of support available. Students can do so much, can't they, to help themselves grow and develop and gain skills during their degrees. And there's always the opportunity, as you say, to not just look at the UK, but to look at other international destinations. Because once you've made the move and you've come to the UK and you've studied, then that's really does kind of open up the rest of the world to you, doesn't it? Because you've already done it, you've already made that move. So the world's your oyster, really. I think it's
Absolutely.
you're not restricted to where you go after that.
No, and that's why we're so happy we're able to support in a variety of ways, because things also come up. An opportunity might arise that you hadn't considered another country, and we'd have the mechanisms to support them on that journey too.
Yeah. And certainly if we're talking to our Indian students, the arts industry, creative industries in India is absolutely booming. So I am absolutely sure that, coming to the UK, getting an international degree in a creative subject will certainly help their chances and possibilities of getting a great career back home as well.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear that's booming. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think globally there's a definite desire for that creative outlet and some happiness and color and everything. So that's good to know that it's global phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Alex, thank you so much. That's been a really, really interesting conversation, and I am really delighted to be here today. It's such a beautiful campus. It feels like we're in a tropical garden here. I'm going to be sharing some photos as well online of this gorgeous place.
Thank you so much for having me. And I did just want to end on saying that at Falmouth, we offer employability support for life. So when the student graduates, that doesn't end their access to us. So whenever they need coaching to attend events or any of our resources or jobs board, those are available to students as long as they choose to opt in. So that doesn't end when their journey ends with us.
Fantastic. All right, that's brilliant. Thank you so much,
Alex.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.